What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers, that's dads and fathers, that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And being part of that team last year, I was able to be reaching out to over 100,000 fathers around the world. And as always, I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we're broadcasting live here February 20th in Toronto on Black Canada Talking. And if you don't know what Black Canada Talking is about, let me tell you right quick. Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. And we also feature and spotlight great Black Canadians. We'll get to that in a minute because we got two new friends that some of you, probably many of you, don't know about, but you got to know about, especially based on this conversation. Little background, though. The History Channel and Hungry Eyes Media Group announced recently the groundbreaking 4-part docuseries Black, and that's BLK, An Origin Story, and it's premiering Saturday, February 26th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The limited series, consisting of 4 60-minute episodes, reveals the deep historic impact of Black presence in Canada. Absolutely amen to that. Executive produced by Jen Holness and Sutherland, Black and Original Story is helmed by Hungry Eyes award-winning production team, who takes viewers on a nationwide journey through time to discover the untold story of Black people in Canada and their legacy, which dates back to 1608. So before we get Jen and Sudz on the program, let's see a little clip from Black, An Origin Story. Producer?
When people talk about there's 2 founding peoples, 2 founding European peoples, you've got some African people in there too. 10% of them were Black.
One time, I was giving a talk about slavery in Canada. This woman jumped up, just incensed. How dare you speak about us as if we were the same as the Americans?
The rest of the world knows nothing about Canadian slavery because we at home know nothing about Canadian slavery. The segregation we experienced in this nation was very much akin to what happened in the USA.
The government of South Africa looked at Canada to figure out how to oppress the native population of South Africa better.
The first part of the plan was the building of the viaduct right on top of Hogan's Alley.
Our ancestors weren't allowed to go to schools in the neighboring white communities. So our ancestors had to build those schools themselves.
There are these huge omissions that really color your sense of history, a sense of who belongs and a sense of who has always been here.
My family have been in Canada since 1798, so I'm a 7th generation Canadian.
Even those who don't disbelieve will often say, why do you need to talk about this? It's painful, it's hurtful. I think every generation needs to come to its own terms with human injustice.
We are standing on the shoulders of some of the bravest people to have ever lived on this planet.
Wonderful. And that's a little snip of what you're going to get in the next little while, in the next few weeks. So want to say, let's welcome Jen and Sudz to the platform.
Hey there.
Hey, how we doing? How we doing?
Good. It's a beautiful, cold, snowy Sunday afternoon. And
yes.
We're just happy to be vibing with you.
Well, you know what? Thank you for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule and one of your kids' birthday today to join us on the platform. So really happy to have you, and we're going to make every minute count. So before we get to the docuseries, I would love to know a little bit more about your background. I know a bit, but many of our viewers probably don't. So let me ask you, how did you two start the professional journey of being content creators?
We
met at York University.
Yes.
And Jen was doing a public policy administration degree. I was doing a film studies degree, film video production. Mm-hmm. And then we met, and it's just started, it was a boy-girl thing at first. And then we just started hanging out. And then after Jen graduated, I dropped out. And we started to make short films. They started making music videos, And so doing music videos, trying to get in the industry, trying to write, trying to get in the industry, trying to direct, trying to make music videos, did like a lot of music videos, then began to make short films. After that, longer short films, and then finally a feature called Love, Sex, and Eating the Bones. And that won the best first feature at TIFF. And then from there, it's just been, a lot of like hard work, just trying to break into the industry, getting bigger and bigger projects made. And that's where we are today. We're still trying to make more bigger projects, trying to make great stuff and tell our stories. And that's really how we got in and how we keep in.
Yeah. And one thing I want to add is that when we first started, there wasn't a lot of stories about people that looked like us. And so I think growing up in Canada, we always had this sense of a loss or a lack. And we got most of our content from the US. And so even the name of our company, Hungry Eyes, the idea was hungry eyes. Our eyes were hungry to see in ourselves. And so that's actually being a part of our philosophy. And then really besides that, we make feature films, we make TV dramas, we make documentaries, we make docu-series, and miniseries, and we've even dabbled into a little bit of digital media. And, I think that for us, we are some of the senior filmmakers out there, but like Sudz said, we want to TIFF. We are the first, I think, Black writers, that's certainly me, to win what is a Canadian Screen Award for writing in Canada. Sudz has won 3 or 4 Canadian Screen Awards for directing in Canada. And we have just been out here trying to do the most to get our stories told, not just in Canada, but internationally, to bring it to the international crowd, because there's a fundamental misunderstanding about what the Canadian experience is, particularly for Black folks.
Top question. Do you remember the first project you worked on together?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. The first project was like a short film that we did. And that was, no. The first project was Selections. This is a music video for the Selections, which was a gospel group featuring.
I remember them. Yes.
Featuring Donald McLeod, who is now Judge Donald McLeod. And so,
Justice Donald McLeod.
Justice Donald McLeod. So Selections music video. It was a gospel group, and it was Selections music video. Yeah, absolutely. That was the first. That was the actual first project.
That was the absolute first. Yeah. And,
Wow.
it was, but it's crazy now, right?
Yeah.
Judge, what? Which is wonderful. Such a brilliant man, talented either way.
Let me ask, we'll get into the docu-series in just a moment. What was the moment, if there was a moment that you said, you know what, this is something that we can take to the next level? Was there a moment or a few moments? Because in the early days, you're scrounging, you're grinding, etc. Was there a moment or a few moments that said, you know what, this is our passion project? It's not hard work, it's heart work.
Okay.
I think one of the moments was we had done a short film called My Father's Hands, and we had, we'd done the film, and it was doing the festival rounds, all that kind of stuff. And then we had an opportunity to go to to enter it into the HBO Short Film Awards. And so this was something that's like a worldwide competition. And so we sent it down. But the thing was, it was a $65 entrance fee. And this is like back in the day, $65 US. This is back in the day where we didn't have any money at all. So it was like literally I was like, Jennifer, we have to do this. She's like, we don't have any money. I'm like, it's $65, but we can do this. And, and then so the prize was $20,000 US. And so we were like, come on, if we don't enter this, we'll never know if we could have won or whatever. So we do a money order and send a money order in. This is before wire and all that kind of. So it's a money order. We send them go to the bank and buy the money order, send it in for $65 US. And then a couple months later, we get a call saying, hey, you guys are one of the finalists for, there's 5 finalists. So yeah, we're inviting you down to Acapulco. And we're like, well, which one of us should go? And they're like, this is HBO. So both of you are invited. Like, come on, it's HBO money. So we actually go down there, treated like royalty. It was one of the best experiences of our lives. Bond with the other, all the other competitors for the finalists, and the film quality are so high, they actually give everybody a prize, and so they give us the award. So we win, first and only non-Americans to ever win, and so we win, and they give us $20,000 and give each of the other finalists $5,000 because the quality of the film is so high, and they just love everybody. And that was the first time we thought, you know what, we can make a go of this.
Jen, any other moments early in the days? Because I love when we as a people get to celebrate success.
Yeah. You know what? I think for me, I was very skeptical because when we first started out, I remember there was a sense that there was just so few people doing this. And I know that we always got the feeling that people just didn't think we could do it. There was a distinct vibe that who are you to think that you could actually, and I know that part of my personality that I've now discovered, I didn't know this back then, was that when someone says you can't do something, it's generally when something triggers in my brain, and then I'm like, how do I do this? How do I solve this? How do I fix this? How do I make this happen? So I know that I remember there was just this incident where Sudz had said that he wanted to do this thing, and someone had said, "Oh, that's never going to happen." And I was just so mad. And, I was just so mad that, that he was being discounted, that we were being discounted, that I was like, and so for me, I was like, well, how do I get money from the funding agencies? So it was like the Ontario Arts Council, the Canada Council. So I went to all of them to like figure out what their criterias were, because it was literally because someone said we were not going to be able to do this. So Sudz is absolutely right. That was a really big moment for him in particular, but for me, it was earlier when we just got that thing, and I didn't know this though. But I've now looking back, this is what the history of the past gives you. When you look back, I started to see this pattern that every time someone said, whatever, no, whatever. It was like literally, it was like, oh my gosh. And so, so I think that was for me when I knew that we could do it and that we had to do it.
Ironically, that person who discounted us,
yes,
we ended up hiring them on years later. Yes, absolutely. Ended up hiring them and paying them a lot of money for the work that they do on a series, because it was in the field that they do. So it's life is funny. Life is funny.
Yes, because sometimes success can be the best revenge.
Yeah, that's exactly that. The other thing, what I love is that Oprah Winfrey is one of my goddesses in life, as she's in many people. But she told a story that really impacted me. She told me a story about how she was really mad at someone. Something had happened and she was really mad at them. And for 5 years, she was just mad at this person, just mad. And then she just by chance bumped into them. And that person was living their best life, being all happy, didn't even know Miss Oprah was upset. And that story really impacted me. So I really try my hardest not to let what if I think there's this or that, I try to just not put myself into that space and just focus on what I can do, what we can do, you know what I'm saying? And so like you say, and so anything that anyone does or doesn't support, or because, we're in Canada and there's been a lot of that, the accomplishment, living well, doing our best to get things done and to make work that is not just national but international. To me, that's the response to any negativity, any kind of vibe where you can, because again, I say this in the context of a country that historically did not even acknowledge systemic and structural racism, did not acknowledge how little Black content creators were getting in the system and how difficult that system has made for us to really achieve the heights in which we can. So, yeah,
and it's not just our corner of the media universe. It's like you take what's happening in media in terms of the lack of representation, you're going to spread that across every single industry in this economy. And so the idea, though, is that if we articulate these systemic challenges that we have, and say, no, this is actually a systemic challenge. This is a barrier here. We need to eliminate this barrier. So you take that across this economy. This economy looks different when it includes more of us.
Yes. It's not only better for us, but it's better for everybody.
Better for everyone. Better for everyone.
It's better for everyone. I already need to have you back for part 2, but let's get to no, because it's so good and so rich, and there's a lot of people need to realize that Jen and Sud are still in the fight, folks. They're still in the fight, right? So, you can say, well, I'm just starting out, I got to fight. Well, them still in the fight too, but they're fighting for all of us.
Yeah.
So do realize that. So let's get to Black and origin story. Where did it all start? Who came up with the idea?
That's a good one. Okay. Okay. So we had made a film called Speakers for the Dead for the National Film Board, and that was, I would say, was our first professional film. It was a documentary, and it was about erased Black Canadian history. And I remember growing up in school feeling very much like I didn't belong. I'm Jamaican born, but I've been here since I was about 6 years old, so pretty much all my schooling. But there was no time in school and high school that I didn't feel like an outsider, an immigrant. And what was really interesting was that there was no Black Canadians to look to. There were no stories that were being told to me and taught to me about Black Canadians to say, well, maybe even though I'm an immigrant, Black folks have been here. So literally flash forward to we're now have our little company, and I'm reading the Share, as I'm wont to do, Share newspaper. And there's a little story about this community, Priceville, and something about Black Cemetery. I'm like, what is this about? We call them, we find out this story, and out of that comes this documentary that is still being celebrated and used today. We were taken to Harvard, for example, to have a conversation about Black Canadian history based on that film. So the thing was that was done almost 20 years ago, and there's never been an opportunity for us to do more. And it's been something that's been sitting in the back of my mind. And because for me, I know the experience of never feeling like our people, the Black Canadian people, have impacted anything. What are their stories? Who are they? Why do they matter? And so flash forward to George Floyd, a Black man is murdered, and the eyes of white folks open up to systemic and structural racism. There's a real belief and understanding in the industry now, spurned on by things that myself have been a part of, creating the Black Screen Office, for example, but a real understanding that Canada is not exempt from these racist policies and structures. And we end up getting a call from a broadcaster who we've never really worked together, and who said, came and said, look, we've been watching your work and admire your work, and for a long time now, we've never worked together. Would you have a project that you would like to pitch us? And so I'm like, immediately, yes. and without skipping a beat, we actually called the show BLK, an origin story, but without skipping a beat, it was a story of Black Canadians. Where did they come from? What is the stories of these early Blacks who actually are woven into the fabric of this country, who were instrumental in the development of this country, but whose stories have either been actually erased or dismissed? And we know, for example, that there are other filmmakers like Sylvia Hamilton and so forth who've come before us, who've put work in this space. But we feel like this is a groundbreaking series on its own, because we're asking this fundamental question in all of the episodes: who are these Black people? Where did they come from? And out of that, by the way, has spurned these incredible stories. And you see the erasure, you see the power of the Black presence in Canada. And that's what BLK and Origin Story is all about. No, I can't hear.
What was your first reaction when the network came when Jen said, hey, we got approached by blank? What was your first reaction?
I was like, okay, great, let's do it. Because the opportunity, like, I mean, it was so long between this, like our first sort of doc that we co-directed talking about Black Canadian history. There's stories in that we wanted to tell. So we're like, oh, finally we can tell the story. Finally we can tell the story. So it was like, okay, let's go. And so the biggest sort of hurdle was, I think, in our minds, like, how do we organize telling of Black history? How can we do it? Because to do a survey piece was ridiculous. We can't do it. No, it's gonna be very, very hard. It's gonna be very, very hard for us to do something that encompasses all of Black Canadian history. We couldn't attempt to do that. So how do we describe these histories? How do we tell these stories? So we looked at it. What if we tell these stories by region? So Nova Scotia. Let's talk about Ontario. What used to be called Upper Canada. Let's talk about Quebec. Let's talk about British Columbia. We didn't know any of, we knew some of these stories, but we didn't know that the founder of British Columbia, the governor of British Columbia, the guy who started the place, really essentially, was biracial. He's a Black man. We didn't know this, and it's like nobody told us this, and whoever knew just wasn't saying. And James Douglas, there's all kind of Douglas. There's College Douglas. There's all kind of Douglas Road. Douglas is all over British Columbia. He's known as the founder of British Columbia. But the thing is that nobody tells you, oh, he was a Black man. One drop of Black makes you a Black man. One drop of Black blood makes you Black. He's a Black man. But he's firmly a biracial dude. His mother's from Barbados. So the thing is that none of these stories are told. None of these stories are shared. And because also that your teachers don't know it. So if your teachers don't know these things, they're not going to be able to teach you this stuff.
Right.
So what we want to do is create something that could be used in schools. So that
it's gonna be. We're not gonna be happy until it is.
So that Black kids feel that they're stakeholders, they're a part of this place. And again, this is not something that's going to re-traumatize them. This is something that they can be proud of, because it's very good looking show. It sounds great. Got great professors, great interviews. And it feels like today. And it's like, it's something that it's not going to be dated. So if you see this in 20 years, you're not going to say, oh, it's dated, but it's something that will stand the test of time. And it's got so much great information that we don't know, that tells us about Black Canadians and how that, these aren't discrete histories, like stuff that happens in Jamaica, stuff that happens in the UK, stuff that happens in Canada. It's all interlinked.
Yes,
it's not like,
it is.
There was movement back in the day. There was movement. There's people were affecting change all over the place. And so what we were trying to do is say that, hey, history is a lot more complex and a lot more diverse than you have been taught.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I do want to say that we still had to pitch. We still have to come up with a concept. We still have to do all of them things.
Of course.
Thinking like, oh yeah, they just rolled up and then it's all done. No. We had to do the due diligence. But it was nice to just say, pitch us something, give us something.
Yeah.
And the thing
how often does that happen?
In my career, never. First time. And it's happening a bit more now. But I think what people, in the industry, we're known a little bit. And I think people in this industry think, because we've been around this long, that, we've gotten all these breaks and all this kind of stuff. Let me tell you, it is a testament that we're still standing, because there were so many moments where I felt almost completely broken, how do we do this when this is what people are saying, or this is what people are treating us, or what is unfolding. But again, it is that thing where, somebody once told me, if you want to make a Canadian film, well, then, if you want money, you need to make a Canadian film. Now, I assumed my film was a Canadian film because I was writing it and Sudz was writing and he was directing it and I was producing it, and many of the actors in it were Canadian. But what that meant when you say, if you want money, make a Canadian film, I think it meant, if you want money, make a white Canadian film, a film that didn't take you off the shores of Canada. And this is the thing that really hurts, because our industry, we're pushed to be international. We're pushed to have sales international. We're pushed to be global. And in this situation, it was like, I'm assuming that because it was I'd say 98% Black cast as
Right.
well as team,
Right.
I guess it wasn't Canadian. And that's pretty awful, and then and several other things went down that, like I said, by the end of it, I was completely demoralized. But here was the thing: I knew that they didn't think I could do it, and we couldn't do it. And at the end, the person who said that to me actually came up and said, I watched the film and I'm really surprised it turned out this well. I didn't think this would work. I kid you not.
No, it doesn't surprise me. I get that too, because I've been doing this for 10 years. So I still get it too. Right. So I hear what you're saying. I want to ask, and I want you to highlight process. So I'm very much a process person. Obviously, you two are also. How long was it from the time you got that first call to when you started shooting the project?
That is a good question. It's a great question because it was November, and then we started shooting in June. July?
Then we got the call in the summer.
No, because we started researching in November. So maybe I'd say
the call from the
maybe June. So okay. So I'd say 11 months. We actually we had to do the pitch stuff, and so we got greenlit for development, I think, in November. So let's say it was July. I'd say July. We had to create stuff, pitch it, got greenlit for development in November, delivered everything. And by the time we started delivering in January, they knew they wanted to do it. Like they were like, this is really, really fantastic. And this is what they were told us. And so I think in early March was when we finished development, started putting in and negotiating production deals in April till June, and then went into production early in July. But started prep.
Started shooting in
July. Started
July
prep
7th,
in June. So so less than a year. It's been crazy. It's been for us. I don't know.
It's not usually this fast, but they wanted to air it this time. They wanted.
That sounds really, really, really quick scheduling.
Yeah,
it's never happened in our career.
Yeah, we've
never
done that fast. and we're, it's like we're in the edit room, in the mixing room now. So the final show, the first show airs next Saturday.
26, 9 p.m. on History, and then the next week it goes on Global. So each show will air both first on History and then on Global the following week.
Nice. Let's get to the actual filming. Like, how did you choose the individuals that you did? And how much work was it just to do all that process? Because I don't think people realize the work. Like it was just, this is work, or as we say, walk.
It was nonstop. We actually had drama projects that we had committed to that we literally had to put on hold and tell everyone that we couldn't touch it. Because we worked with two researchers, Maya Bastian and Jane O'Brien Davis, who turned out to be the daughter of filmmaker Andrew Davis that we knew back in the day. We didn't know when we hired her at first. So we worked with those two researchers, and then we did a lot of research ourselves, obviously. And it was just real that then we had to close, like we had to negotiate the production deal with Chorus, which was epic, and then we had to find additional funds, which we put in an application to Rogers. We put in a funding application to the PPRC, which is CMF new funding for BIPOC filming. I'm just giving them.
But people need to know, because they're only going to see the end product.
Exactly.
They need to know what it took to get there.
Absolutely.
And that was huge. Sudz doesn't do that part of the work, so he doesn't really think it's interesting. But it is massive. It was just massive for me, and I'm doing this while writing, because I wrote the Halifax, and Sudz wrote Ontario. So I'm writing, but I'm also story editing Maya and the two Mayas who wrote. We gave an opportunity to a young woman, young filmmaker, Maya Anik Bedward, and another filmmaker, Maya Bastian, to do writing on it. And I have to story edit these things as the Sudz, but Sudz is also directing on something else. So I'm doing that, and then trying to close the deal, and then putting a crew together. And this is during the pandemic, knowing that we have to go into production. So we had a June, we were starting prep. And then he and I decided we couldn't find a fourth director, because I did on Halifax, you did Ontario, and we decided to do Vancouver together. And then we hired one of the Mayas to direct Montreal. And and we had we were really lucky. We lucked out with a really wonderful young woman, Kalela Brooks. She was my actual EA, my executive assistant, and I could tell that she was amazing with people and was just really so go get it attitude, and so much for our company that we actually made her an associate producer, and then she helped us put all the pieces together for the travel, because we were going from 2 weeks in Ontario to shoot, 2 weeks in Montreal, 2 weeks in Halifax, 2 weeks in Vancouver, and we have to prep all of those as well. And then we had an incredible list of people, and you can talk about that we invited.
No, we got like George Elliott Clark, Lawrence Hill, S.U. Dejan. We've got Dr. Charmaine A. Nelson. We've got people who are like experts in their field. We got like jazz musicians like Oliver Jones. Like it's like we've got a cavalcade of stars of Black stars across this country, and experts in history and people who are just researchers. We've got like Natasha Henry, president of the Ontario Black History Society. Like we really wanted to deep and far and wide for people who really know their stuff to bring us into their study of history, because they can make it come alive. And that's the thing. Like, I don't know if you remember back in the day when you were going to school. I mean, I went to school with your wife and, going to school, and it's like you're in history class and like, man, we were like, almost failed that class because it was like so boring. But the truth is, history is the reason why it's boring is because they sanitize Canadian history and erase all of the interesting bits. So we don't talk about genocide. We don't talk about slavery. We don't talk about anything in terms of Canadian history. It's been so sort of sanitized. So we want to make the truth. We want to bring the truth to the story.
Yeah. And the other part of that is that, we feel, why I say it's groundbreaking is because I believe that the way we've chosen to focus the story is what's new. And then it's also groundbreaking because we're now making work with a new lens. The lens is shifted, and I think the agency and the industry, they're recognizing how they have been complacent in the erasure of our stories. So the fact that we're actually acknowledging the erasure. So it's a different context to be making this work. And so we really didn't sort of shy away from some of the tough things. There's gonna be some things that's gonna be surprising some people, and we wanted to do this, and we wanted to say no holds bar, but also tell the story beautifully, because Sudz is like one of the most celebrated directors in Canada, and so he was really instrumental working with our DOP Ricardo Diaz and our second Ashley Gill, two Black folk, to have a look to the production that is unique. We're bringing we come to play, and so the show will look really fantastic, as well as just like a punch with the information.
Absolutely. Well, I know the little I know about you, Jen, you don't play. So so I know that we're getting the best stuff from both you on this. Let me ask, during the journey, what was a challenging moment and how did you overcome it?
Oh God.
I know that probably there are a few, so you can pick one, whatever one you want.
I'll be straight up. I'll be speaking truth here.
Okay.
The truth is that not everybody understand that the world is shifting, and so the fact that you have a Black woman and a Black man at the head of this project, not everybody used to that. So people are what we call traditional thinkers.
Not being kind, by the way. Go on.
There's got to be a white person here somewhere who's in charge of this, and just not ready to have somebody tell them what to do, right? And again, I work on big crews. I do on shows like Superman, Lois, Flash, all kind of stuff. I work on big crews with like hundreds and hundreds of people. So that's not a new thing for us, either of us. But the thing is that some people are not ready for that. And so in terms of like, they're like, something is just not right here. And I can't put my finger on it, in their mind, because it's programming. Because the programming that they've had for the 30 or 40 or 50 years that they've been on this planet is that this white person should be at the head and this Black person should be below me. That's how that should roll. So we had some of those issues like that. And so I'll be straight up, because that happens. Yeah. That has happened throughout our careers. And this continues to happen, but we have to have like a moment and say, look, well, we're going to have to move on. You'll no longer be working with us. We're going to have to find a solution. Either you figure it out or you can leave, because nobody's forcing you to be here. So these are some of the issues that did come up, because again, like, we're dealing with a very diverse group of people, in terms of like the crews of the world, the crews of Canada. And so we had some of those issues. We had some crews that were incredible and just like a family and would love to work again. But we had some issues, man. I'm telling you straight up.
I have a specific.
Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, no. I have a specific situation that won't out anybody, but I think it's important. So like I said, our DOP is Black and has been in the industry for quite some time. And I think he's just now getting his due in terms of the kind of work he's getting. And then the other camera person, or second camera, was a woman, and she has been doing commercials, but she really hadn't done a lot of documentaries. So it was kind of like taking a chance in the sense that it's not like she had this this long reel of work to show us. And so the person that was supposed to hire them, we said we want to hire these two people, and that person dragged their feet for quite some time before hiring. And some of the other crew members that we wanted to hire, they did not tell our DOP, did not reach out to his people, and so we ended up having some other folks that we didn't really get along with, who ended up leaving the show. But here's the thing, or we mutually didn't want them working with us. But here's the thing, I was told by one of my staff members that person said, I just don't think it's fair to hire someone because they're Black. So it's not that we hired these two camera people because they're talented, which they are very talented, and you'll see with the show. Because we chose not to go with someone that she wanted, the only thoughts in her mind was that we were hiring these two people because they're Black. And here's the thing, before the recognition of systemic racism and structural racism in Canada, there was a huge push for gender equality. And CBC had a policy where at least 50% of the directors needed to be women. I'm guessing that's an actual policy. Yep. Where you are hiring someone almost entirely because they're a woman, right? I didn't hear all of this stuff like, oh gee, we're just hiring them because they're women, and so it's this really double speak that it's okay if it's women because predominantly it's white women, but when it comes to people of color, we can't play by the same rules.
We can't have any kind of quota, or we can't have any kind of numbers, because what happened with the CBC thing was 50% was the goal, 71% was the result. So directors like myself, I haven't worked at CBC since that policy happened. So and that's been like about 5 years now. I haven't worked at CBC for a long time. And the thing is that I saw the writing on the wall, and so I had to find other work. But there's a lot of like my fellow directors who were like very angry at that, male directors, white male directors, because of that readjustment, that structural adjustment. But the thing is that this person said, I don't think this person should be hired because they're black. I don't think they should be hired because they're a woman. And like
they didn't say to us, by the way.
They didn't say to us. And the thing is that we hired this young woman because we looked at her reel and thought this person got talent.
Yep.
And this is going to be a great opportunity for her. 42 days on the road with us. She's going to hit the ground rolling. And afterwards, now she's like all over the world now. This woman's like global. And hopefully we'll be able to hire her again and she'll return our calls. You know what I mean? So, but the thing is that we've had to deal with mutiny and all that kind of other stuff all throughout our careers, and we're used to it. We know what that's about, right? We totally know what that's about. So we don't have this is nothing new for us. So we just say, okay, fine. Nobody, the door is right there, so you can go. And so, but the thing is that understand that as a black executive, somebody who's hiring people of a diverse group, understanding that they may not be ready to respond to a black person in the way that, hey, this is the boss and you are working for me.
Yeah.
And they may not be ready for that. They may think they're ready for it, but they're not ready for it. And so as a black executive, you have to understand that, because when you're hiring, you have to understand and think, is this person going to be able to work for me in a long term? And when I'm displeased with something that they do and ask them to do it again, are they just going to throw up their hands and walk away and say it's too hard? You got too much standards. You got too much this, too much that. Because you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Let me ask, without giving too much away of the production, could each one of you share a special moment you've had during the journey?
Oh, well, we were watching the opening just recently, and there is in the opening is footage of this group that we filmed in Vancouver, and I really loved shooting Vancouver, and our Vancouver crew, who were predominantly white, were amazing. We came with our own people, of course, but they were great, and we just had the best time. I just loved them. And but we interviewed this group in a round table, and this young lady was telling some of her stories. She's South African born and been in Vancouver for some time, and she talked about the loneliness, and then she just broke up. And I was so impacted by that. I literally jumped out of my seat and ran into and just gave her a hug. And then, and that, I think, then the other ladies were all, so we all kind of like just surrounded her and just held her up, and it's a really special moment. And it wasn't something that was planned, and I just didn't even think about it. And then Sudz is like, "Oh my God, the director's in the shot." And
no, I was saying that has to be in the film. That has to be the final film, because it was such an overwhelmingly positive moment, and a moment that demonstrated what the need for Black community is. Because if you ever been to Vancouver,
I have.
It's like the loneliest place in the world.
Oh yeah. Very
lonely.
I wanted to talk about getting your hair done. Forget it.
I'd love to hear that story, but that's another time, obviously.
Yeah, but they're all spread out. So the thing is that Black Women Connect is an organization that brings Black women together, and so brings them into spaces, both virtual and real spaces. And so we wanted to document that. It's part of like, what's the future holding? And so it was a powerful, overwhelming moment. And my argument for its inclusion, because Jennifer originally did not want to have herself.
I never want to be on camera,
but I was like, it needs to be there, because it was just an overwhelmingly positive moment, and it was so beautiful. And I mean, even like as we say, our hardened white guys, that's their voice, that's their name, not me. And say they were crying. You know what I mean? Wow. It was such a beautiful moment. So we wanted it. That's what we joined this thing for. That's why we do this. Is to have those kind of moments and to share them with the world. Because honestly, man, like just going across this country, seeing Black people doing things, seeing amazing Black people doing amazing things, and just a testament to our ancestors. It was so overwhelming. We brought our daughters on this journey. It was incredible. It was just a beautiful moment. I love to have this. It was a great experience filming this. Even there was issues and all that kind of stuff, but our ancestors were guiding us. And so we had a beautiful time making this, and we are just so happy about bringing this to the world, because we want everybody to see this.
Absolutely. But what I mean, I also love Nova Scotia, but just being there. But what like for you?
I think like honestly, like it's hard, man. It's just like there's so many good moments. Like like there's a moment where there's descendants of the Maroons. So these are black folks who were kicked out of Jamaica. They were deported out of Jamaica back in the 1700s, and so they were tricked because there was a 100-year war, and they just said, "Okay, well, we're gonna make a peace treaty." And then the British took their weapons. They laid down their arms, took their weapons. Okay, chained them up, put them in a ship, and shipped them to Nova Scotia. And so, yes, believe this is the truth. This is a crazy story. And so we had descendants of those Maroons, and just 4 women just in a round table setting.
Beautiful.
And it was just beautiful just to hear their voices. And it's like a bunch of aunties, you know what I mean? And it was like just to be around that. And then we had lunch. We had lunch. There was a church service afterwards. We had a great time.
Yeah, like we had like 70 odd people because we filmed a choir at the church, and we said we wanted to do something nice. So we actually had them we had Kalela Brooks find a place that everyone would love, choose the menu, and then we provided lunch for the group, the church group, and it was really it was really beautiful for me. It was a tough day. 2 cameras went down. It was like, oh my god,
she had a tough time with it. But the thing is that we went into the community, and then even to get cars, because Nova Scotia you couldn't get rental cars this summer.
At that
time you could get cars, so we had to go into the community asking people for their cars, and so we rented the cars from them. So the money went straight into the community. And so it was a interesting, amazing experience. And it was like overwhelmingly, positively, incredibly 100% Black. And it was like a great experience as a Black person, as a person. And it was like, I really, and I think that's in the movie, that's in the shows. And it's going to stand the test of time because it's 100% authentic.
Well, our time has run down fast. Can you take one question? I'll have you make some final comments. So Sarah Yongo from Ottawa, who does incredible work with the Black community in Ottawa, says, how can our community better advocate for better funding for their projects?
Well, that's a good one. Okay, so here's the thing. The Black Screen Office is something that now exists. It didn't exist a year ago. I was one of the founders with Joan Jenkinson and Damon Oliveira, and part of its mandate, a big part of it, is to advocate on behalf of Black Canadians in the screen-based industries. So one of the first things you do is just link up with the Black Screen Office. The other thing is, there's a number of other organizations, BIPOC Film and Television, Real World. Fabienne Cole has an incredible program out of Montreal. She runs the Montreal Black Film Festival, the Toronto Black Film Festival, the Halifax, Nova Scotia Black Film Festival, and I think she's now doing one in Vancouver. She runs those festivals, but they actually provide programming for Black folks and so forth. So there's now coming to the fore these groups who are suddenly being given funds to do far more than they've ever been historically. So this is an incredible time. So you just got to do the research. These organizations exist. They're out there. They're posting, and so you get through them through social media, and then communicate with the EDs, the executive directors. BIPOC Film and Television is run by the wonderful Kadon Douglas, Joan Jenkinson at Black Screen Office. There is Tanya Williams for the Real World.
Real World, yes.
There's Fabienne Cole.
Cola, the Montreal Black Film Festival, and the Fabienne Cola Foundation, and so that is the overall umbrella group. There's stuff out there in terms of, like, I would say join like these organizations as a member, but also if you're interested in working for them, they are advertising positions as well.
Take action. Take action. Let me ask, how has Black an Origin Story changed you professionally and personally?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I know that for me, it's changed me both professionally and personally because I feel like the sacrifices we made to make this it is what we were put on the planet to do. In my mind, that for me, it was the culmination of so many years of hard work, where I believe in some ways I'm doing God's work in doing this, because like I said, we made choices that were not financially smart and all this kind of stuff, because we just really wanted to do this. So professionally, I felt like for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was doing really the work in the fullest way I could. And we also had really good partners with Chorus who really did give us the ability to express our voices. So professionally, that was just a beautiful experience to have that. A little bit tougher to negotiate the deal, but working on the creative was just brilliant. And personally, I feel like I didn't set out this way, but I feel like this is a legacy project. And I feel like personally, I have done something to shape our kids just came home, to shape how we see Canada, the idea that black history, Canadian history, is black history. So I feel like I personally impacted that, and that is, to me, part of the reason why I became a filmmaker.
Sudz?
No, that was like, no, I think you said it very well, Jen, because I think that what personally, that idea, our thesis statement is black history is Canadian history. It's like, this is not a discrete thing, because we fought in the War of 1812. You know, we fought in the Upper Canada Rebellion to protect freedom for black people here,
and all Canadians,
and all Canadians. But it's like, we had an existential threat here, because the idea that if we became an American Republic, blah blah blah, we would reinstitute slavery. So we have a deeper understanding of Canadian history through the work that we've done. And so it makes me feel more of being of a Canadian, but even in terms of a complicated, understanding that history is complex, because just as we had a relationship with Indigenous folks, because if we went to their villages and became part of their nations, but they also owned us. Like, there were some people who also owned, slaves. So it's a very complex relationship. And again, history is a lot more complex and a lot more diverse than we ever thought it was. So that has really changed me in my understanding of history, because I'm looking at it deeper. Professionally, it's like, Jen said, do you want to do this? Because, I'm like, we won't be making as much money.
I won't be able to pay you the way that you get paid otherwise.
Yeah. I do, shows for like Superman and Lois and all these kind of big shows. And it's like, I'm not making that kind of money on this documentary. So I'm taking a financial hit. And I said, yeah, well, I think that I can take a financial hit. We have to do this project. We have to do this to the best of our ability. And if we don't, we'll always be looking at that and saying we just didn't do our best. And it's like, that's why I, gave up, better part of a year to do this work.
Wow.
And so it was really important to do that work. And it's like, once you get off that train of like all that sort of money train coming in, you got to like, okay, you got to, make some sacrifices, but you got to think about what our ancestors sacrificed. You have to think about that. Because how many people who were talented and smart and brilliant didn't get a chance to go to school? We have Senator Wanda Bernard talking about how segregated schools, she went to segregated schools all her life.
Until university.
And then also the last segregated school in Nova Scotia closed its doors in 1983. So like, we're bringing these kind of facts to the table, the true history.
Wow. Well, this has been amazing. And I'd like to say, first of all, someone asked for the Black Screen Office website. I put it in our comment section. If the producer can put up that's their website, Hungry Eyes Media. So you go, but also if you can put up the Black Screen Office, there's the website there. If you can put it up, that would be great. But I want to say, first of all, thank you for all you have done, all you are doing, and all you will be doing. When I say this, I truly mean that you have gone past the hard work. It's now the heart work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's Thank you very much. Yeah.
It's definitely hard work. And if the producer can just put on the bottom when this starts this Saturday, beautiful. Do you have any, actually one last conversation piece. What do you want the audience to take from it and action upon? Not just take from it, but action upon.
It's like we've been here. We have been here. So anybody telling us that we are just a latecomers to the story or what have you, we are stakeholders in this country, and we are a part of making it a better country. And so that's what I want people to take away from it.
I can add one thing. Every episode, actually, there is a call to action in every episode to some extent. And when you watch it, you'll see. And so, for example, Nova Scotia, the Black people have been there for almost 400 years, 300 to 400 years. They're not considered a distinct society. Why not? They were they were foundational people in this country. Many of them came, for example, to the Book of Negroes in 1873. Sorry, in 1783, not even 1783, which means that they've been here for so long. Why are they not distinct people? Why do they not have the support of communities that are considered distinct societies here in Canada? So that's one of the things that we raise in that episode. But every episode raises a question around that. I think in some ways is a call to action, and when you see it, you'll know.
This is beautiful. Beautiful. And Sarah's saying wonderful conversation. Thanks, Dr. Vibe. Well, thank them. I'm part of the audience too. And Ryan O'Neill Knight says, we'll have to buy the History Channel for a few weeks. Absolutely. If there was any reason you want to put your money in the History Channel, this is it. Go to Hungry Eyes Media, go to the History Channel to get more information. Jen and Sudz, really thank you from the bottom of my heart, and everyone who's watching this live in the replay, thank you, and don't quit. We're here for you. So thank you so much, and celebrate the birthday.
Yes, you heard them. You heard them.
I heard them. I heard them. That's why I said, okay.
Came back from getting the nails done.
Yeah, that was my ending part. Okay, I heard the noise. Okay, cut. Thank you so much. Take care, and look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, absolutely.
All right,
yes.
Dr.
All right.
Thanks for the
Take
interview.
care. Thanks. Wonderful interview. Great question.
Thank you so much. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I also host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Care and also sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. I'd like to thank everyone who watched this live. We're going to watch on the replay. Shout out to Carrie Mullins. Wow. Long time. Ryan, Sarah, and other people. William, thank you so much. Jerry, thank you so much. If I didn't get your name, it's my head, not my heart. This is why we close out every conversation we do, because every conversation we do is an epic conversation. This is what we say. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. And 3 last things. Thanks to BIA Media for a great production today. And then I was going to say this, and I'll say this, very, very important. Don't manage your time. Manage your energy and give yourselves grace. Take care. God bless. Keep the faith and walk good.